All right. In the last video, we were looking at code typing tools, and we left a whole lot of mistakes in our program. We had started with our very first program and looked at those code typing tools, added and changed a few things, and got some little red squigglies and everything, and left them all there. And I told you in the next video we would go over how to fix all of that. That is to debug syntax errors, and that's what we're going to be doing in this video. And specifically in this video, we're going to be looking at doing it in Visual Studio. So I've brought this program back up, and I do want to mention up to this point you may not have copied and pasted anything from the source code viewer that you can open by clicking just below some of the videos that have source code in them, including this one. For this video and for the one where we do the same thing in Eclipse, if you click on it, it's gonna give you this ugly code. It's gonna be it's not ugly code. It's actually fairly pretty code. It's just got a lot of syntax errors in it. What you're going to have there when the code viewer pops open is the program with all the errors in it, just like is here in the video, so that you can go through and practice with the debugging syntax errors on your own. Additionally, if you have some problems figuring out copying and pasting, you don't copy and paste the whole page. If you open the source code viewer, it's all of the code is like in a little box or frame there, for lack of a better term. What you need to do is you just need to highlight all of it, and then you'll need to highlight all the way to the bottom, and you can right click, and the pop-up here menu will look a little different, but you just need to look for copy. So you can click on copy, and then you can come into this editor here and just hit paste, and it will paste all of this stuff in here. Also, the source code viewer does not show underlines and shading and stuff like that. So all of the colors and the indents and all that kind of stuff are those are correct in the source code viewer, but in the future there probably won't be any underlines. But again, this is for debugging syntax errors, so there are those errors in there. But once you copy that into this text editor, your little squiggly should show up just perfectly fine. That's something that the IDE is doing. It's saying, here's a squiggly here, squiggly there. All right, so this process, I really wanted to go through it with you. If in the course text explains how you can get a lot of errors, and you really can end up, seriously, I've seen students freak out before when they'll come up and they'll have the program won't even be that long, and they'll have over 100 errors, and they freak out. It's like, I don't know, how could I do that much wrong? Well, you didn't necessarily. So this is just taking you through the simple process of finding them now, and then also to some extent fixing them. Now, one thing is, though, some of what it tells you when it finds them may seem a little, cryptic. You may not understand exactly what they mean, but at least they'll give you some line numbers, and that's where you start. You look above and below, and then, let's just get into the process. So what you want to do is start with this. It's just like F5 that we were talking about before in a previous video. Okay, it's out of date. Would you like to build it? Yes. Now what's going to happen is it's going to pop up and say, you've got issues. So there were build errors. Would you like to continue and run the last successful build? No, you do not. What that's going to do is the last time you compiled your program and it's successfully compiled, it's just going to run that. That doesn't help you here. So you're going to want to say no. Now when that happens, you see you've got some stuff down here that maybe you haven't seen necessarily before. But let's see, this says 7 errors and 0 warnings. Hopefully we should end up with a warning here somewhere. It might be that some of these syntax errors are keeping that from showing up, but anyway, so here is the deal. If you look here, maybe I should start clicking here so that little circle will show up so you can see where I'm clicking. See, they're line numbers. They're mostly in order. This one is down here at the bottom, but it's very similar to this one. But notice, let's just keep in mind it says we have 7. So what you want to do is in this little thing here, you go for the one with the lowest line number. Usually that's going to be at the top, but since this is a pre-processing directive like we talked about briefly in an earlier video, that might be why it's showing up again down here. But you want to go for the line number that's the lowest. That means it's closest to the top of your program. So that is where I'm clicking here. These line numbers are invaluable, and that's for finding syntax errors, because this says line 4, this is line 4, says 4 right here. Okay, so we know that there's a problem here. Sometimes you can get a clue from the description. Again, the more you program, the more you get used to, oh, I know what that means. But at least it gives you a line number and a clue. So you want to go to this line number. You also want to look, sometimes something that you do up here isn't necessarily causing a syntax error in and of itself, but causes one right below it. Or the thing to do is you don't just look at line 4, you look at, a line or two above and below where the this line number here is. So 4, we want to look just above and just below. Then we can look at the description of the error, and it says cannot open source file IO Steam. Well, why might it not be able to open that? So you'll have to look at that, and again with practice it'll go a bit faster. It does take practice, but this is the method. You try to run or compile your program, comes up, says you got build errors. Okay, no, I don't want to open it, I want to look at this. You go to the lowest line number here, look at a line or two above and below, and then look at this description and see if you can try to figure it out. And again, why can't we do this? Well, as long as you've watched the last video, you know what the problem with this is. It's not IO Steam, it's IO Stream. Okay, so here, this little red squiggly may or may not go away right away. Look, it automatically adjusted our errors down here to 6, and it did fix our little red squiggly. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't, so let's go through the process. Here's the thing. You think you fixed it, and it did show down here that you fixed 4. Remember, that was the lowest line number here. We went to that. The lowest line number was 4 over here. So we think we fixed that, and actually some of these other things have done. The most thorough and complete surefire way to do it then is to actually try to compile it again, because this will actually knock out some other errors sometimes. Would you like to build it? Yes, we would like to build it. And it'll say you've got issues again. No, we don't want to run the last successful build. And you see down here, then you just repeat the process. You look down here, And we want to see, we've got 11, 13, 13, 13, 14, 11. Oh, so it's still a little bit out of order here. All right. So that's a little unfortunate. This is a little bit of an odd syntax error, but so we see line 11. So we want to look at line 11 and the line, you know, a line or two above it, maybe a couple below. So let's look at the description here. Expression must have integral or unscoped enum type. Well, if you, okay, it's line 11. So you're like, what expression? Here we go. So we've got those code typing tools. We've got the little squiggle here, and we'll roll over it. Oh, okay. That's what this is about. It's about this little squiggle. So there's actually nothing wrong with this. But this, again, is where you look, not necessarily the line before or the line after, but this is the expression. It says it's supposed to be some other type. Well, this is exactly what we want. You'll find out later. This is called a string. But, well, you know, so we look before it. Oh, okay, so you'll learn later, but you know from watching the other video, we removed one of these. That was the issue. Okay, and we fixed it. Now we go through the process again, but I want to point out something real quick. Look, we jumped up to 9. We started at 7, we went to 6, now we've got 9. Don't fret. This is the way, this is the point of the whole video, is you look down in here, you start at the top and you work your way through. See, if you started in the middle somewhere, you could really, really pull your hair out. But trust me, this line is now fixed. Start at the top, work your way down. Don't freak out if you get more errors, because they can be caused by ones before and one after. But just to be thorough, we're actually going to go ahead and try to build it again. Sometimes this will knock a thing or two out for you when the real-time stuff down here isn't, you know, might not quite catch it all just right. Would you like to build? Yes, we would like to build. Okay, of course we've still got issues. We know that. We've still got squigglies. So, no, we do not want to run the last successful build, because that's from way back. That's from the video where we originally created your first program. Now, we need to go back down. Oh, see? There we go. Just to be thorough, it could knock some out. Right there, you saw that. We did that. We had started at 7, then we went to 6, and the real time knocked us back to 9. It's like now we're down to 7 after trying to recompile. So that's the whole process. You try to compile, and then you don't want to run the last successful build. Then your little error screen here will show up, your error list will show up, and you then, do you remember what the next step is? You go through, and it should be pretty much at the top. You go through and find the one with the lowest line number. That's going to be the one closest to the top. These are your line numbers over here to the side. It's going to be the one closest to the top, and you're working your way from the top all the way down. Okay, so what does, okay, well then, okay, so you got this line number 13. We want to look at line 13 and the one just before it and just after it. Okay, because sometimes it can be caused by that. Usually it's actually going to be on that line, but I'm emphasizing that here because you could end up trying to figure out what's wrong with this line forever until you realize, well, wait a minute, it was actually up here or down here, or, you know. So, right there. All right. Here is the description. Identifier N is undefined. Identifier N, well, in the not too distant future, you're going to know what an identifier is. It is in this part not this part. Yeah, in this part, in part 1, but it's not in this topic. As a matter of fact, I think it's a couple of topics. Well, anyway, does not matter. From watching the video, you know what that is. That's missing a T. And also note here, see how it's not highlighted? That's because, because it's missing that T. And once you type that T, it not only gets rid of the red squiggle, it puts this here. So look, real time, we're down to 4 errors. So what was that? We started it, I can't remember exactly. We went from, what was it, 7 to 6, and then real time we bumped up to 9, and then compiling knocked us back down to 7. Now real time we're at 4. So again, we go through this process. We're working our way from the top all the way down. And don't worry, after you get good at this, this goes a bit faster. I'm just taking it nice and slow and easy here with you. Get you used to this whole process. Would you like to build it? Yes, we would like to build it. You've got issues. Would you like to run the last successful build? No. Uh-oh, my antivirus. I did not turn my antivirus off for this video. There we go. It's fine. Okay. Now wait a second. We just said, well, we were going through the whole process. We just said, hey, what about the, yeah, we were going through the process and it actually opened. So, it ran. We had 4 errors, right? Nope, it went all the way down. So we can check our error lists. This is where I want to show you something neat. So we have actually debugged this thing. So even though it said 4 real time, no, you noticed how when we would fix one thing, I mean, it would go down by more than 1. Now if you had, depending on the errors, I mean, and you know how long your program is, 1 can cause a lot of errors down the road, down the line. That's why you start at the top, because an error at the top can cause 20 errors down the line. That's why you start at the top. Now, or start at the top. Now, this is a very short program, so it wasn't as dramatic, but you did see, let me click, I'm at the tab down here in the lower corner here. You remember our errors, what we started at 10, went to 6 real time, no, anyway, 6, 9, and 7 again, or something like that, and then it was 4. Anyway, you get the idea. It's just because it detects 10 errors doesn't mean you actually have 10 errors. It's just that one error might be causing 9 other errors as well. So that's why you go through the whole thing. Just to review one more time, you debug, and then it says do you want to rebuild it because you've got changes. You click on yes, and then it fails. It says you have issues. Do you want to continue with the last successful build? No, because you want to debug it. Then your little error list pops up, and you go to the error with the lowest line number, and depending on what that is, don't freak out about this. We'll get to that in a second. Then you look at the lines above and below, and focusing on the line listed there, you look at the description and try to figure out what that error actually might be. Once you do, you go through the process again and go ahead and try to compile again. It'll come up, error list, again, go to the lowest line number and go through that whole process over and over again until finally it works. Now you see that it worked, but we do have something here. So this is what we're going to cover here. This is mentioned in a note in the course text as like a footnote type of thing, a little asterisk in the section, and this has got a little thing here. This is actually a warning. See, we don't have any errors. Those are syntax errors. This is a warning. So this is saying warnings typically will say something about, hey, you might, I stress, you might have a logical error coming up. Now, we mentioned logical errors just a little bit here to kind of show the difference between syntax errors and logical errors. But these come up when it sees something unusual. And the next in the next topic, we'll look at using breakpoints and stuff. It's towards the end of the next topic for debugging those types of errors. But that's what this warning is. It's not a syntax error, but it just shows where you might have an issue if you've got logical error problems. Okay, where you might have that. And in this case, this may not make a lot of sense. Well, it says unused int, which is this unreferenced local variable. Basically what that is saying, is you created this variable, which you'll learn about variables in another couple of topics. But it's basically saying you declared this, you created this, but then you didn't do anything with it. That's basically what that's saying. But what you really need to understand here is that warnings are showing where you may have a logical error, maybe. But you know, you can have a fantastic program and still end up with it having warnings in it. It's, you know, just because of the way you did something. It's just where it kind of tries to help you find logical errors, but you know, a compiler can't really do that. Oh, it's great at finding syntax errors, of course, but logical errors, anyway. Okay, so that's it. That's the whole process. One last time, we'll review. You go to compile here, and yes, you want to rebuild it because you've had changes. And then if it doesn't compile and run, you're going to want you're going to not want to run the last successful build. You're going to want to debug. So you'll click on no, and then your error list will come up. You find the one with the lowest line number, okay, and then you look up here, you find that line number. Line numbers are over here, and make sure to look not just at that line number, but the one or two above and one or two below. Okay, and look at this description and try to decipher what that could be. And again, the more you do this, the more you'll say, oh yeah, the last time that happened, this is what my deal was. And then you can fix it. Once you fixed that, or you think you fixed it anyway, you go up here, recompile, and then if it doesn't run, again, you don't want to run the last successful build. You've still got syntax debugging to do. You'll come back down here, and once again, you'll start all over by finding the new error with the lowest line number, and go through the whole process again. There we go, and I'm almost positive this saved. So that is the process of debugging syntax errors in Visual Studio. So, and again, if you look at the code viewer for this video, it's the little link directly underneath the video in the course. It will have the code with all the errors still in it, so you can copy and paste that and then go through that whole process yourself to get good practice at it. Alright, so we're done with that. This concludes another video for Introduction to Programming with C++, brought to you by LogiKomp. You can access the full course by going to the course homepage at logikomp.com/introcpp. While we are proud to offer this course free of cost to individuals, we do ask that if you continue to use the course, that you support its production and maintenance by making at least a small purchase from LogiKomp Domains and Hosting. You can pick up a custom domain, renewable annually, for around $10 at logikomp.com/hosting. Thank you.